Okay, I'm going to talk about needs versus wants. So, what's a need? Well, a need is a necessity, right? It's something that you need to survive. So, you could consider this, I don't know, clothing, shelter, food, water, energy, things like that, right? And talk about wants. That's basically things that you don't need to survive, but that we buy anyway, if you have the money to, right? So you could consider that luxury items, whether it's, I don't know, just in general consumer goods. So, luxury sports cars, mansions, all the way down to, I don't know, TVs, right? These are things that are perhaps not necessary to survive, but we want them, so we purchase them. And I'm going to talk about kind of the balance between wants and needs. Now, I'm not speaking about any particular individual, I'm kind of speaking about society as a whole, throughout the whole economy. So, let's just imagine what happens when too many people are getting the things they want. So we have perhaps millionaires or billionaires purchasing dozens of sports cars, several vacation homes, right? And then we have, and where do these people get their money? Where do they get the money to do this? Well, there are very few wealthy people out there that wealthy who have multiple vacation homes, multiple luxury sports cars. Very few of them have earned that money, if any. Okay, well, what they actually did was they had money, and perhaps they worked hard for that base income, right? That the income that they first earned. Maybe they started poor, right? But what did they do after that? Well, they invested that money in the stock market, and the companies they invest in, if they profit, those companies pay back dividends, right? So what are these dividends? Where are they coming from? Well, they're coming from the value production, from the profits created by the corporation. But it's not the corporation, it's not an entity that is called a corporation that's creating the profits. It's the laborers that work for the corporation. They're the ones creating the profits. They're the ones creating the value. They're the ones creating the products and services that that corporation sells, right? So when you allow people to purchase stocks in a company and then you pay them dividends at a disproportionate rate to their value input, then you're basically exploiting labor. You're giving the value production that the employees created and you're handing it over to the people who invested in the company, right? This is how people become billionaires while other people are living on the street, right? It's basically people aren't getting paid for their value creation because the economy's set up that way, right? So this is how people end up purchasing dozens of sports cars and vacation homes, right? Now, again, let's think about what happens when people are fulfilling all of those wants. Okay, those luxury sports cars and vacation homes. What does that do to the needs of other people in that economy? Well, again, they're exploiting the labor to get those wants. So somebody's needs are going to end up not being met if that labor exploitation reaches a certain extent. And well, that's what's happening, right? That's what's happening in the US economy right now. We're allowing wealth to purchase wealth. We're allowing wealth to create more wealth at a rate that is stealing the value production of other employees to the extent that those employees can't buy the things they need. And this is why, this is why people are going hungry. This is why people are going homeless. It's why people can't get the medical care they need. So there's a balance between these needs and these wants. And when we let too many people get the things they want, it's because, there's some labor exploitation going on. And when that happens, people don't get what they need. But if we think about this, if we keep this pattern going in the long term, what ends up happening in the long term? Well, those people whose needs aren't being met, what happens is they get fed up, right? They get violent, perhaps. They start committing crimes. They start stealing. Maybe they start a revolution. This is the thing. It's like, if too many people get what they want to excessive degrees, then what ends up happening is people don't get what they need, And then what are they going to do? Well, they're going to ruin it for everybody. And here's the question you have to ask yourself is, do you blame them for ruining it for everybody? Because you have to think about it. They're not ruining it for everybody. It's the people exploiting the labor that ruined it for them. And they're just responding to that exploitation of labor. It's like when you see somebody, some poor person violently attack somebody else, if you go and talk to that person, you'll probably find out that they weren't raised in a healthy household, right? They were probably raised in a one-parent household, and they probably didn't get a good education. They didn't have any good role models. It's like, if we allow these people to be continually raised in this manner, then we're asking for it. We're asking for this revolution that may potentially be violent. We don't want that. So, get what I said? We don't want that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that violent revolution. So, in a sense, if you're one of these billionaires or 100 millionaires or whatever, who is buying all these things that you want and taking away from other people's ability to get their needs, what do you want more? Do you want the luxury sports cars and the mansions, or do you want peace? What do you want more between those two things? Because that's your options. Those are your two options. And maybe you're making a bet. Maybe you're hoping that you die before the shit hits the fan. But in all likelihood, if you're young or if you're middle-aged, shit's gonna hit the fan. And it's already hitting the fan, right? Like, we already have signs of increasing violence and crime in this country. We have signs of the increasing woes of poverty that are backfiring on us, right? And it's because we are allowing too many people to exploit labor and get all of these excessive wants in absence or instead of fulfilling everyone's needs first. This is how reality works, or rather, this is how the economy works. If we don't have AI producing excessive amounts of everything, then that's just a hopeful future, right? If we don't have enough sports cars for everyone, or enough luxury homes, and then you allow certain people to exploit labor to the extent where they can purchase those things at the cost of people's needs being met, then we're going to have a revolution. And there's nothing you can do to stop it except to decide that you want peace more than you want consumer goods as a wealthy person, or even as a middle-class citizen, right? If you are somebody who's getting by just fine, right? Maybe you have decent health care, you have a car that you can, a nice car that gets you from point A to point B just fine. You have a house, your mortgage is paid off, and then you shut your eyes to what's going on in the world, then you're gonna have your hand up your ass when the shit hits the fan. And we don't want that. We need to start paying attention. Just because you got yours doesn't mean that other people who haven't got theirs are going to just lay down and die. It's never been like that. The populace has never laid down and died in all of history. They've always revolted, and they always will revolt. We need to work together. We can't keep allowing this exploitation of labor. You have to stand up for people who make less money than you, and the people who are making those slavery wages, those poverty wages, they have to stand up for themselves as well. We have to organize, and I say it all the time. This means unions, it means labor strikes. And if we sit around and wait for the government to fix it, the government who is in bed with the large corporations, they're not going to fix it. We have to do it ourselves, and it begins with labor unions and labor strikes. And once that movement sufficiently takes off, then you will find that the government also starts working for us. And the reason it works like that is because we need the middle class, the working class organization, before the working class is going to end up voting for the right people. Without that working class organization, we're going to keep voting for the same people who rip us off. And that's what's happening right now. But at the same time, these unions, they're kind of taking off right now, and they're taking off for a reason. And I think it's because COVID people got locked up for a little bit, and they They started paying attention to what was happening. They started thinking, and whereas previously maybe they didn't have time to think. So keep thinking. Think a lot. Talk to people about your thoughts. Upload short YouTube videos talking about your thoughts. That's also important to do. I don't get many views on this channel. That's not the point. I just need to get I just need to sway one or two people, and those one or two people need to sway one or two more people. That's how these movements begin. They begin with individuals taking actions. That's it. You can't wait around for the government to fix your problems, because if the government is currently working against you, you have to start the grassroots movement that ends up electing the right people. Otherwise, the government's going to continue doing what it's always done. It's going to continue fucking you over. So work with your fellow working class citizens. Don't allow this wealthy ruling class to exploit your labor and to get all of their desires fulfilled, just so you can end up struggling, just so you can end up having to join the revolution. Let's avoid the violent revolution. Let's make it a peaceful economic one, and in that process we can make the world a better place too. It's not just the United States. Once the United States gets its shit together, they will have the capability of bringing the rest of the world under its wing, more or less. And we won't do that in spite of China and Russia. We will do it with China and Russia. That's how we get the world on board with world peace. We don't fight these other superpowers. We begin to work with them economically so that we can create a better world together. So give it a little thought. Thanks for watching.